everyone. Can you hear me okay? I realize we're running really late, so I'm going to be very prompt and get on with it. So thank you, everyone, who's here to attend. As we've said, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Manga High. We're a company based in London in the UK, and I'm really proud to be here because I'm a student of India. I grew up in India, I went to Delhi Public School, and I left India when I was 19, and I've been there 20 years. I've started this business, and it's grown really fast. It's used by 5,000 schools, so I'm very excited to tell you all about it now. So I'm going to start off with a story. So why I started Manga High. And I think the panel before mentioned Singapore, and Singapore is not a good example for following or emulating. I remember I was meeting the Ministry of Education in Singapore, and the taxi driver who took me there, when she found out that I'm an education person, she started talking to me, and she was like, my son is struggling with education. I was like, what's going on? She's like, the Ministry of Education in Singapore gives us a worksheet every week. They get 10 questions in math, and he cannot go past 5 questions. He's struggling really hard. I was like, why is that? She's like, he has an attention deficit disorder. I'm like, really? And yeah, she's like, I have to take him to a doctor. He has to have pills, and that's how he's able to focus on anything more than 5 questions. And I was shocked. And I was like, is he the same when he's on an iPad? She's like, oh, no. He's completely in a zone when he's on an iPad. This child, I have to pull the iPad off him. And I was like, how can it be the same child? On one hand, he has to go to a doctor and has medicine. On the other hand, he's super engaged on an iPad, and the mom has to snatch the iPad off that child. And I think it would be fair to say that the students of this generation are different to when you and I were children. We were happy to learn with pen and paper. We were happy to learn with books. That was our world. If you think about the world of this child, they've got PlayStation, they've got Instagram, they've got Facebook. We are competing for a share of their mind, for their attention, for engagement. And it should not come as a surprise that in the US, 3/4 of the teachers are using games for instruction. And this report came out 3 years ago, and I'm sure it's gone up. So what we did at Manga High, we thought, let's hang on a minute. Let's look at how children are learning in these games. What are the games doing? What does the game industry know that we can bring into education? Like, how is it able to engage children? And I'm sure some of you recognize this screen here. This is a popular game called Candy Crush. So if I asked you, like, how do kids play Candy Crush, right? Everyone knows that you're lining up candy, you're at level 6, and before you know it, you move on and move on and move on. But everyone's going at their own pace. They're having fun, they're learning. It's an adaptive, personalized experience. Now you think about telling the children, today we're going to play Candy Crush in class. Today we're doing level 6. I'm going to stand here, and for 30 minutes I'm going to explain how to play level 6. Then I'm going to watch you play level 6, and then I'm going to assess to see whether you've understood level 6. It doesn't make sense, right? Because these kids are doing something that's working so well, and yet we're trying to teach them in a way that was what we said before, the students of yesterday, the teachers of yesterday in the schools of yesterday, and trying to teach kids of today for problems they're going to face in the future. So we thought, let's make a resource that works for this generation of students. Because when students get stuck in games, they get given micro instruction. They don't get given a 30-minute lecture on how to do things. And this is their reduced attention spans. These kids can multitask like none other. Their attention spans are unfortunately lower, but they're really smart once they're engaged, and they can do things that we can never imagine we could have done. So that's when we started Manga High. So as I said, it's a product that's used by 5,000 schools in over 50 different countries. And why I bring up the example of games and Candy Crush is, if you see the co-founder that I have is the same guy who started King.com. And King, as you know, is the company behind Candy Crush. So we put our heads together. We brought in Professor Marcus du Sautoy from Oxford University, and three of us, we put our heads together and said, how can we do something that's mathematically rigorous, pedagogically rich, as well as engaging as Candy Crush, and come up with something that would inspire this generation of students. So that's what Manga High, that's how Manga High was born. Today, we have 900 different activities. They're all engaging. They adapt in difficulty depending on how well the students are doing. And depending on which part of the world you are, it will be aligned to your curriculum. So in India, you will have the CBSE alignment, or IB or IGCSE, depending on which curriculum your school follows. I want to show you an example of one of our games so you'll get a better appreciation of what we're talking about. So I'll play a video. Let me forward the introduction. So in this game, the student plays the spider and they have to catch the flies and get through the trapdoor at each level. So we turn mathematical problems that you will have seen in their textbooks, let me reduce the volume, and turn them into the game. So it's the same problems they would be doing in books that they're supposed to be learning as part of the CBSE curriculum, but they're doing it in a much more engaging format that appeals to this generation of students. So I won't play the whole video, I'm just trying to save time here, but you can see the math of it gets really hard. This is the angle inscribed in a semicircle rule. This is another example of a game where they're clearing up space debris. We obviously currently have to talk a lot about the pollution and the carbon emission that's happening right now in our generation, but when our children are older, they might have to worry about the space debris that Tesla has left in space and BBC satellites have left in space. So this game is about firing laser equations which would destroy that space debris. You have to change the intercept of the line, the gradient of the line, and this is teaching you equations in a format that would be super engaging. Another example of a game which is teaching quadratic factorization. So what I'm trying to illustrate here is these are not just fluency, times table type games. These are proper mathematical concepts. The students have to master to get their board exams, to do the CBSE, but it's done in a format that they're so much more in tune with and then they enjoy. By the way, we're also offering a free trial of our product. So on your desks, on your tables, there should be a sign-up sheet. So if your school would love to or would like to have a go at trying some of our content, it's free to do that. So please leave us your name and email and we can set your school an account. In addition to the games, we have these what we call Prodigy Activities. And Prodigy is a quiz engine where students are learning in a very interactive and adaptive environment. So depending on how well they're doing, the questions will get harder, and if they're struggling, they will come back down easy. It's about appealing to the students. And our mantra is, if it's too hard, they're going to give up. And if it's too easy, they do not engage. So just like we've made the video games, we've made Prodigy to make sure the students are always engaged. And in addition to the content, students get motivated by extrinsic factors like medals, rewards, recognition, special badges that they get. So here is a screenshot where you can see a student may have earned a silver medal, even though they've started at a hard level question, they got 10 out of 10 questions correct, it just only afforded them a silver. So they have to try again to get a gold. And this level of engagement, the extrinsic motivation, I want to go from a bronze to a silver or from a silver to a gold, get students answering any activity 3 times each. So they end up doing 30 questions. So on Manga High, we get 4 million children every month, and everyone is doing 30 questions each. So you can see the level of engagement the platform is driving. Now, you as teachers or teachers in your classrooms, like how should they respond to this level of engagement? How are they teaching these students? So we provide teachers with all the analytics that they would need. So here you can see I've got a classroom and I can see they're working on fractions. I can see on the far right which students have got what depth of understanding to a bronze, silver, gold level. But what's more interesting about this screen is the student at the bottom who has made 5 attempts and has not understood the topic. So me as a teacher, I don't have to worry about engaging the children. I don't have to worry about disciplining. It's not about teaching anymore. They want to learn. And I want to spend time with that child over there who has made 5 attempts and done 50 questions and is struggling. So so without having to mark anything, I am looking at a screenshot which is telling me exactly which child needs one-on-one help so I can spend time on building a relationship. And as I mentioned earlier, we align to the curriculum. This is an example of how you would use Manga High. You would go into, you're saying, I'm doing class 4, I want to do something from numbers, and all the topics would appear. It's very simple for teachers to get started. And then you can see all the students in the classroom, and you can say, who do you want to assign it to some specific individuals or to the entire class? And then they can do it in school, they can do it at home, It's a cloud-based product that works on tablets, Chromebooks, smartphones, so it really works very easily. I'm going to show you one more video where you can see students in Brazil competing with a school in the UK, and you can see the level of engagement it drives. So that's a Brazilian school. So in Brazil, obviously it's summer, and in the UK it's winter, it's gloomy and raining probably. What I would like you to see is they're working on problems in Portuguese, and they're answering, and they're getting points, and those points are clashing with the British points. And look at the engagement. Every child is super focused on what they're supposed to be learning. So there was one specific competition between a UK classroom and a Brazilian classroom. We've had more than 100,000 such competitions. So when you start using Manga High, your school will compete with other schools down the road, or perhaps in Australia, Brazil, or New Zealand. And students get really excited because they're fighting for the glory of their school, and they work really hard. And they're begging the teachers, can we have more work assigned to us on Manga High because we want to get more points. So in addition to what the teachers can do on Manga High, which is assign tasks and differentiate and track how well the kids are doing, we also have AI. So the artificial intelligent algorithm will work out how well the students are doing, which students are doing well, which ones are struggling, where they have mastered things, and where they need help. So we're crunching what the peers are able to do, we're crunching what the teachers are expecting them to do, how old they are, what the state expects them to do, and we come up with a unique recommendation for every student. As an example, a teacher may have assigned something simple as, say, 8 times table, and say you got 30 students in a class, 28 of them passed it, but 2 students were struggling. So the system would automatically recommend to those 2 children, hey, why don't you try the 4 times table? And if one of them was struggling on 4 times table, it'll say, why don't you try counting in 4s? So this is happening automatically. The traditional model is the 2 students who are struggling in school, they go home and ask their parents, and parents put them into tutorials, and this is how the whole tuition industry booms. But what we're saying is the classroom education can be adaptive, can be differentiated, and the AI can fill the gaps in students' knowledge, which is extremely important, because we know how difficult it is to have a building which has gaps, or there's gaps in the scaffolding, and they need to sort of build on that. So Manga High is a tool that you would use as an extension, as a classroom tool, in addition to what you might already be doing. It's not a replacement for teachers, it's something that enhances teachers' abilities to be more in control, not have to do the grunt work of marking and figuring out, not have to do the grunt work of disciplining the students. But here what we encourage is, when you've done half an hour of Manga High, that you bring the children together and have a very rich discussion about it, so that they can build the mathematical vocabulary, we can teach them the concepts of collaboration, communication, critical thinking, because you have given them the knowledge-based things that they need to know. So now you can work on the intelligence-based things, the 4 C's that they really need to be building. And Manga High makes it possible, because they get really good at what they're supposed to be learning, so they can now start to apply that learning, and they start to collaborate. I've been to classroom in the UK where a teacher has said, okay, John, if you've got a bronze medal, I do not want you to get a silver medal until your neighbor has got a bronze medal as well. And then you can see peer tutoring happening, and you can see everyone is working hard, and they're starting to learn. And the classroom as a whole is getting better. Teachers get full record or analytics of exactly how the class is doing on various different aspects, in terms of achievements, assignments, how much independent work are they doing, are they, excuse me, are they working hard, and which students are working hard, which students need help. And you can print these reports out for each individual student and give it out to parents. So you can imagine, like, the whole classroom dynamic is changing. The teachers are more empowered. they want to teach because they have now the time to spend one-on-one with students, and all the reporting and analytics is done by the machine. As an example, you can see the entire classroom here. On the far left, on the negative y-axis, you can see the names of the students. At the top, you can see all the homework they were supposed to do in this term, and you can very quickly see which student have done it, which students have not done it, have they got to a bronze level, silver medal, or a gold level. So it's quite a comprehensive tool, and it does the full maths curriculum from grade 1 to grade 10. And I'd encourage you to try it. And once again, there is a sheet on your table. If you don't mind leaving us your details, we will be in touch, and we'll get the trial going. As a pilot, we launched in India a Diwali competition earlier this year. You can see on the far left here, all the schools, they went really crazy for it. The kids loved it. And the schools at the top, they kind of broke the world record on Manga High. We're used by 5,000 schools, and we've never seen schools get into 442,000 or 366,000 points. That means they've mastered 366,000 skills. And that's absolutely amazing. A testimonial from a teacher at Kulachi, Hansraj, that games on Manga High are helping students eradicate the fear of maths. And this is really important, that students should not be afraid of math. Students should be taught to use maths in what they need to do, because obviously maths is an important construct for their education, and that everything, economics and science and MBAs and engineering, builds on it, and we don't want them to graduate without having learned maths. School chain in Brazil with 17 schools did a study on the other impacts of Manga High other than the impacts on results. They found the attitudes in mathematics improved by 70%. School in the UK, they found the grades in GCSE went up by 25%. A study in Australia with 46 schools found 100% of the teachers saying, yes, it was better than traditional forms of instruction. So we've got plenty amount of proof that it works, and it works really well. Like Bill Gates mentioned us in his annual report, talking about Manga High doing great things in education, both for engagement as well as understanding. So we have a little stand outside, so if you would like to come and talk to us, we'd be happy to set up your school and give you a free trial, so you can see it for yourself, how engaged the students get when they learn with a digital resource such as Manga High. But thank you very much.